Ancient Egypt has always been a land of wonder, mystery, and jaw-dropping monuments. But behind the golden masks and towering temples, its rulers often met ends as strange and puzzling as the hieroglyphs they left behind. These were not just political leaders, they were living gods in the eyes of their people. Yet even the most powerful pharaohs couldn't escape fate's shadow. Some vanished from history without explanation. Others died suddenly, their bodies bearing wounds that raised more questions than answers. A few seemed to fall victim to palace intrigue, poison, or elaborate plots worthy of a Hollywood thriller. And in some cases, modern science has only deepened the mystery, revealing secrets hidden for thousands of years. What really happened to these rulers? Were they betrayed by those closest to them, struck down by curses, or simply victims of bad luck? Today we'll explore the final chapters of 8 pharaohs whose deaths remain unsolved, from youthful kings to cunning queens, and discover why their stories still baffle historians. Before we step into the shadowy corridors of their reigns, let's begin with a boy king whose short life has fueled nearly a century of speculation. If you think Tutankhamun's ending was strange, wait until you hear about a pharaoh who rewrote religion. Akhenaten was no ordinary pharaoh. He didn't just rule Egypt, or he tried to rewrite its very soul. Abandoning centuries of tradition, he closed temples, erased gods, and declared the sun disk Aten as the sole deity. His new capital, Akhetaten, rose from the desert like a divine experiment, bathed in sunlight and radical change. But revolutions rarely end quietly. His reign sparked unrest, famine, and political instability. The priesthood despised him, foreign allies wavered, and the common people were baffled by his obsession with one god. Then, without clear warning, Akhenaten simply vanished from the historical record. Was he overthrown in a coup? Did illness strike him down? Or did his own family turn against him? His mummy has never been definitively identified, though several skeletons found in Amarna raise tantalizing possibilities. Some scholars believe Smenkhare, a mysterious co-ruler, may have succeeded him, possibly his own son or even his wife Nefertiti under another name. What's certain is that after his death, Egypt's old gods returned with a vengeance. His monuments were defaced, his name erased, and his reign branded heresy. Yet Akhenaten's disappearance remains one of Egypt's greatest unsolved royal puzzles. And if one vanished pharaoh isn't enough, let's meet a queen whose dramatic finale makes Shakespeare look understated. Cleopatra VII was the last pharaoh of Egypt, but her legacy is more than a tragic love story. She was a master of politics, fluent in multiple languages and able to charm or intimidate anyone, from Roman generals to her own advisors. Her alliances with Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony cemented her place in history and placed her in the crosshairs of Rome itself. In 30 BCE, after the defeat of Antony's forces by Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus, Cleopatra faced the end of her kingdom and her life. Ancient writers claim she ended it all by allowing a venomous asp to bite her, a final act of regal defiance. But was that the truth, or the perfect propaganda piece for Rome? Modern scholars doubt the snake story. Handling such a creature in a controlled way would have been difficult and unnecessarily dramatic. Some argue she drank a poison cocktail prepared by her own hand. Others suspect Octavian had her quietly executed, crafting the snake tail as a political weapon. Whatever the method, Cleopatra ensured her death would be as legendary as her life, a final performance in which she controlled the narrative, even in defeat. From a queen who staged her own ending, we turn to a king who never saw his coming. Ramses III was a warrior king, remembered for repelling invasions and defending Egypt's borders during one of its most turbulent eras. But while he kept enemies at bay abroad, his deadliest threat brewed within the palace walls. Late in his reign, a plot known as the Harem Conspiracy unfolded, led by one of his secondary wives, Queen Tai, and her ambitious son, Pentawere. Their goal: eliminate Ramses and place Pentawa on the throne. Court officials, magicians, and even palace guards joined the scheme, weaving a web of betrayal that reached deep into the royal household. Ancient trial papyri reveal a sensational scandal, but for centuries the king's actual fate was uncertain. Some believed he survived the plot, others that he died suddenly of natural causes. That changed in 2012 when CT scans of his mummy showed a deep, fatal slash to his throat, so severe it nearly decapitated him. As for Pentawere, evidence suggests he was forced to take his own life, his mummy found in a strange, shrouded burial. In the end, Ramses III's fall wasn't at the hands of foreign armies, but of his own family's ambition. If palace drama can end with a slit throat, imagine what happens when the battlefield follows you home. Sekenenre Tao II ruled during a time when Egypt was split, with the Hyksos controlling the north from their capital at Avaris. Determined to drive them out, he became a symbol of resistance, but his end was as brutal as his cause. His mummy, discovered in the 19th century, stunned researchers. The body bore horrific head wounds, a crushed forehead, deep cuts near the eyes, and a smashed cheekbone. The injuries matched Hyksos weapons, suggesting he died violently, perhaps on the battlefield or as a prisoner of war. Even more chilling, his hands showed no defensive wounds, implying he may have been bound at the time. Some historians picture a defiant king captured in combat, forced to kneel before his enemies before receiving a series of fatal blows. Others think he might have been executed in a ritualized manner as a warning to Egypt. CT scans confirmed that the wounds were inflicted while he was still alive, making Sekenenre Tao II's death not just a military loss but a gruesome act of humiliation. His sacrifice, however, may have paved the way for his successors to eventually reclaim Egypt from foreign rule. From a king whose head met the enemy's blade, we now meet one who vanished almost without trace. Smenkhare remains one of Egypt's most shadowy rulers, a name whispered in the turbulent years following Akhenaten's religious revolution. His reign, if it can even be called that, may have lasted only a year or two, and the records are so scarce that historians still debate who he really was. Some inscriptions depict him as a young man, possibly Akhenaten's brother or son. Others suggest he might have been Nefertiti herself, ruling briefly under a different name. This identity puzzle only deepens the mystery of his death. No definitive tomb has been found, no clear historical account describes his final days. A few scholars propose he succumbed to illness, perhaps the same genetic condition suspected in the Amarna royal family. Others speculate he was quietly removed from power by the restorationists eager to erase Akhenaten's reforms. If that's true, Smenkhare may have met his end in political exile, buried in an unmarked grave. In a period where pharaohs were immortalized in stone and gold, Smenkhare left behind only fragments. A ghost king whose disappearance has kept Egyptologists guessing for over 3,000 years. If history can erase a king, imagine the mystery when a ruler's very body vanishes for centuries. Djoser is celebrated as the pharaoh who commissioned Egypt's first pyramid, the iconic Step Pyramid at Saqqara, a monument that revolutionized architecture and set the stage for centuries of pyramid building. His reign, guided by the genius architect Imhotep, marked an era of innovation, stability, and grandeur. But while his achievements in life are monumental, his death remains largely a blank page. Ancient records offer almost nothing about his final days. Some later legends suggest he lived through a severe famine, possibly tied to low Nile floods, and speculate that he may have succumbed to illness or malnutrition despite the grandeur of his court. Others propose that his passing was natural but deliberately underplayed, perhaps to maintain political stability during the transition of power. No mummy of Djoser has been definitively identified, and the burial chambers beneath his pyramid remain partly inaccessible. Without a body, forensic answers are impossible, leaving only the towering stone monument as a silent witness to his life and a mystery to his end. In a land obsessed with preserving the dead, Djoser's own fate has quietly slipped into the sands of time. From a king remembered for his pyramid, we now meet a queen whose remains were hidden away for millennia. Hatshepsut was one of the most successful pharaohs in Egyptian history, a masterful ruler who expanded trade, oversaw grand building projects, and maintained peace. She broke tradition by declaring herself king, complete with false beard and male regalia, ruling for over 2 decades in an era of prosperity. Yet after her death, someone tried to erase her from existence. Her statues were smashed, her name chiseled out from monuments, and her images defaced. For centuries, her very memory was buried, leading scholars to wonder not only why she was targeted, but also how she died. The mystery deepened until 2007, when researchers announced they had likely found her mummy. An unassuming body left in a small tomb, missing a tooth that perfectly matched one found in a box inscribed with her name. Scans suggested she may have died from an abscessed tooth or bone cancer, but suspicions linger about possible foul play, perhaps linked to her successor, Thutmose III. Hatshepsut's disappearance from history may have been an act of political vengeance, but modern science has restored her place among Egypt's great rulers, even if her death still keeps its final secrets. After 8 endings shrouded in mystery, it's clear Egypt's pharaohs could rival any modern-day crime drama. From the golden mask of Tutankhamun to the vanished legacy of Hatshepsut, the final chapters of these pharaohs' lives remind us that power does not guarantee clarity in history. In fact, the greater the ruler, the more tangled the web of intrigue, rumor, and speculation surrounding their demise. We've seen kings cut down by family conspiracies, warriors struck down in battle, rulers who simply slipped from the record, and queens whose deaths became as legendary as their reigns. Each mystery offers a glimpse into the fragility of even the most exalted lives, where divine titles could not protect against betrayal, illness, or the slow erosion of memory. Perhaps the true allure of ancient Egypt lies not only in its monumental achievements, but also in its unanswered questions. Every unmarked grave, every damaged mummy, every erased name invites us to imagine, to theorize, and to keep searching. As the sands continue to shift and new discoveries emerge, one thing is certain: the pharaohs may be gone, but their secrets still rule over the imagination of the world.